Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam, Rasulullah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you, inshallah ta'ala. And thank you for joining us in our new weekly discussion with Brother Hamidur live in Bangladesh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brother, how are you, inshallah?
Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Very good, inshallah. Good to see you. So I just wanted to carry on with the discussion, and so I wanted just to explore. So I've spoken about a lot about Ian McGilchrist, who's one of the leading neuroscientists in the world, and he's done a lot of research. He's brought out a number of books on how the brain works between the left brain hemisphere and the right brain hemisphere. And without going to sort of detail, his research is showing that although the left brain and the right brain, of course, they must work together, is that the right brain hemisphere will see things more holistically. It sees the dots, it connects everything, it zooms out, whereas the left brain hemisphere zooms in, isolates and focuses predominantly. And it's like the bird that is focusing on the seed, so it uses the left brain to focus on the seed, but must use the right brain to scan wider to look for the predator and the threats. And so his research is showing that or is there a connection between the left brain hemisphere, which he says is now dominating the right brain hemisphere, where he says the right brain hemisphere should dominate the left. They have to work in together, but the right brain should dominate the left. But he says the left brain is continually dominating and suppressing the right brain, and connects that to the whole approach of Western civilization. So let's just look at from Bangladesh, from people living in Bangladesh. So I can say from the UK perspective, from the Western perspective, we're completely left brain dominated. We're submerged into this life of seeing things and illusion, seeing things in its silos. We can see what's going on, but where do you think people are to all of this in relation to people living in Bangladesh?
Hey, Sheikh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, I was actually when you decided that we will about this topic today. Yes, that thing just our left brain hemisphere is always now the system education and also in the holistic life, left brain is always actually dominated, and right brain is actually dominated. So, and his research should be the master, and right and left brain should work together. Okay, for solving any problem, for seeing things holistically. And but the thing I say from any other countries also, that from with UK, our similarities are there, because Bangladesh was a colony of British of UK and Britain, and that colonization for more than 100 years. So this colonization and why that colonization just dominated, and every aspect like education, from education to how we see with our approaches toward that. Okay, we are very much you can say that copying them, and because that mentality that they are superiors and always following them blindly and thinking that yes, the way they are going is the best way and best possible way to solve any problem. Okay, that local feelings or the way these continents people used to see is gone, and these globalized and colonized brains actually seeing the way that the dominated power actually set. So if we can say that from 17th to 18th century, that when Western civilization emerged and their way of thinking changed, and the way we used to see before that yeah, so we used to see things holistically, but after that it changed, and the way it's going, the way it develops is always trying to make the left hemisphere powerful, okay, and always suppressing that right hemisphere. So these things also in Bangladesh, or I can say any colonized countries over the world, though they are not colonized now, but that mentality, that mental colonization is still here, and we are following it, and we can see in everything, like in roads also, how roads and any development process, we follow that footstep. Okay, that yes, we don't see holistically. There is no harmony between departments, or so you can say that yes, somewhere if you zoom in, yes, this project is seems very good, but it's harming another project, and we are not actually harmonizing these things, and we can see these things holistic. Okay, like I can say one domination, one practical example is our subcontinent or Bangladeshi parents thinking that only making their children's doctor or engineer. That particular thinking that yeah, my son will be doctor or engineer. That's just thinking in silos. That only one issue, one aspect, not thinking about that his child, particular child, that what he can do, or seeing things holistically. And this holistic thinking, if we don't have that, we actually can realize the system of God. Okay, this is the main, I think, challenge we are facing. Also, like a Muslim country like us, that we can't actually connect with that divine system. So that particular thinking, particular zooming, that following one blindly, okay, not letting the right hemisphere to expand is seeing holistically. So they can't actually connect also with the hereafter. I think that right brain, what right brain is doing that, yes, it broadens your seeing or thinking, so that you can connect your akhirat with your dunya. That I think this is the most important thing. That this is why we are failing.
Yeah, and I think when we look at what you're saying, how children are brought up, like in Bangladesh, to think, well, you must become a doctor, you must become a pharmacist. It's very sort of specialized. And don't get me wrong, those areas are very important, but it's yes, it's been sort of programmed to just see the world in a particular way, and the left brain hemisphere has no, isn't going to be connecting you to, as you say, the hereafter, to the spiritual side, whereas the right brain hemisphere will sort of do that. So, and if mankind is predominantly thinking through the left brain hemisphere, how do you think that has a negative knock-on effect to really understand what Tawheed means?
So that oneness, if we want to realize it, or that oneness in nature, or that overall Tawheed, this should be understood in a holistic way. Like I was saying that yes, with Akhira, with Dunya, we have to see things holistically. That's why always in our scriptures we can see that yes, Allah is talking about what is in Akhira, what is in that, and also harmonizing this worldly life with that, not living this worldly life also, and also that life in hereafter, and giving them the way they should be given importance. Okay, so but when we are seeing things in a very we are zooming in or seeing things in silos, actually what the things think becomes important is the thing in front of us and what others are seeing. Okay, that following that trend. Okay, that I have only this life. Like there is one mentality that yes, what I have is right now. There is no future. There is no futuristic thinking, or there is no other thinking. And the thing is, everyone is coloring in the same tone. Actually, everyone is trying to color them in the same tone, same globalized thinking. That yes, there couldn't be any diversity. We have to dress in a particular way. We have to look like in a particular way. If we don't look like them, we are inferior to them. So this thinking that I think that local thinking, that localized thinking, that used to that we are not entertaining diversity. And if we don't entertain diversity, like happening is in families also, we are just particularly saying that only there will be doctors or engineers or this particular profession you can go, but your son or daughter, they can be more than like that. Their inner aspirations or what they can be, what they want to be, we are not hearing this. So as we are not hearing this, we are actually dominating that voice, okay, dominating that thinking. How they're growing up, they're just fighting with their life actually. Like they want something, but they are doing something else. So this is creating a very unhappy human being. That unhappy human being, which is dominated by the isolated or silo thinking of their parents, also become people of seeing things in silos. So how the way they are seeing, they are now thinking that yes, this materialistic world, this job or this power or these professional things or these things, only studying things, I can do only that. Okay, that's specific things, and I have to go through this system only. Okay, this is the only meaning of success. Okay, so these things ultimately what happening is this is making someone very busy and always pinning him in a very particular thing. He can see out of the box now. Okay, his thinking, his broad thinking, his independent thinking is now have just become a slave. That's slavery. That's slavery, I think, becoming the slave of this dunya, ultimately separating us from becoming the slave of Allah. So
it's interesting how if we just focus on the medical profession, whether you want to become a doctor, consultant. So I'm not sure if it's the same in Bangladesh, but in the UK, if you want to become a medical consultant, a surgeon, a doctor, first of all, you learn all the various subjects. So you become what is known as a GP, a general practitioner. So basically, you're learning the whole anatomy about the actual body, the physiology about the body. You're learning about the whole holistic aspect, which is connecting to the right brain, which we say, Alhamdulillah. Of course, we're not saying you can't specialize, but then, yes, you then specialize. But what's happening now is, for example, you become a doctor, and you just remain as a doctor or you progress, is the treatment, as in the medicine, the antibiotics, etc., that you're prescribing the person, is just focus on isolating a symptom. It's not dealing with what's going on. Whereas if you tap into, the Eastern world, from how they study holistic medicine, where they look at like the 4 elements, and how the body works in balance, and basically, the holistic practitioners of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Middle East, Malaysia, Japan, etc., that they could basically solve your issues just by looking at aspects of food, because they are seeing you as a whole. So it's like, as a GP, you're going through the holistic way of learning, but then you're specializing, which is okay. But then your treatment that you're prescribing, it's not holistically, it's just focused on a particular symptom without looking at the greater issue. And that's because the GP or the surgeon has been primed and conditioned by the corporate world, by the pharmaceutical industry, to promote certain particular drugs. So again, everything gets in its silos. So and I think this has a knock-on effect, well, it does, in how we are seeing Tawheed, because this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is continually saying in the Quran about the study of the reflection of the natural world. And it brings us back to, as I keep referring to it, it brings us back to the first revelation, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. The ulama say that really was a lesson for the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to transform how he sees the world, to use the right brain hemisphere to connect the natural world, the sciences, with the revelation, and then deliver that to the whole of mankind. Don't specialize from day one, but connect the dots. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think if we go through the particular case of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yes, he was thinking. I have said it also in our earlier discussions. He was thinking in a holistic way, not that particular problem of him, or like the way we think that this is my problem and this is the only problem in the world. But how he was seeing that, he was seeing every problem in a holistic way. That yes, we have this paganism, we have this problem or that problem, chaos, everything. Okay, so he wanted to solve every problem, every issues, but that solution was only one thing. Okay, so that holistic thing, that oneness of God, that they're having different gods, many gods, but the problem is in one God. But we can see that there is a lot of problems, like 1,000 problems, but ultimate solution is that oneness, seeing things holistically. So I think Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the way Allah just guided him is that, yes, for solving these 1,000 problems, Allah just gave him the solution that, see, this is the way how you should look to things. That the main problem is that oneness of Allah. That our dawah was that that Allah is only one and there is no partner. So this is the way he was thinking, and this is the actually from Ikra that we can see that, yes, this was the saying of the world, that everything above all, the power and the majesty is of Allah. So we have to think in that also in our personal life also, that we think we can do everything as a human. That but what Islam gives us that yes, we are humans, we can do, but above this, Allah is the actually main planner. What Allah plans, it will happen. Okay. So that that majestic perception of Allah, that mighty feelings of Allah. This is a very important aspect, and this is the way. This is the way of seeing, actually. I think that seeing holistically, and like in Asma wa Sifat, Allah's name, we know that Allah has many names. So through these whole names, what we are getting is that, yes, that whole system, whole thing is like we shouldn't go any particular. First of all, what should we see? That, yes, Allah, that oneness. From in this oneness, we can see now, yes, He is Razak, He is Ghafur, but assumes only one thing, that, yes, He is the one. In Kalima, we are seeing that, yes, He is the one, but He is also Razak, He is also Ghafur. But we are not going, at first, we won't go to the particular thing. We will go to the oneness, that holistic thinking. From that, also now we can zoom in and see that, yes, He is Razak, He is Ghafur. So I think that was the way of saying that was introduced for us. So solving problems also, that at first we should try from zooming out, and then we should zoom in. Actually,
and that's how and that's how we should be studying the Quran. Is not taking verses out of isolation and out of context, and this is why it's very important to understand relationships, patterns, and context. And many of the ulama have said this, like the Quran is one complete organism. It's not disconnected. And so many people who are non-Muslim who read a translation, they just say, oh, it's very disconnected, it's confusing, stories repeat themselves, and even Muslims say that, but it's because they haven't understood how you should study the Quran, that surahs are connected, and it's about understanding systems thinking, and a lot of academia, a lot of scientists are also understanding now is that we need to see the world through a systemic way, a systems thinking way, which is good, and sadly Muslims are way behind, but still the key, even if we globally move in a systems thinking way of education, etc., the missing link is still the spiritual aspect, whether you're looking at climate change in inverted brackets, or the environmental crisis, the political crisis, social crisis, the economic crisis. We need to look at it from a right brain hemisphere, yes, then the left brain hemisphere. We need to look at it through systems thinking, but ultimately through the spiritual lens and the Quranic lens. And when you start to, as I say, when you start to study and penetrate the Quran, it can only be done through a systems thinking lens. So whatever verse you are learning about, you are reciting, whatever surah, you need to zoom out. So is that why was that verse revealed at that particular time? What was happening in the Prophet's life? So that connects us to the Sirah. Is it a Meccan surah? Is it a Medina surah? So you start to look at the wider picture, and that's your introduction before you even zoom in to start to break down that sentence to what's the verb, what's the noun, what's the pronoun. So it's a long way to go, and that's why with Heartsea International we're focusing on rewiring. So and alhamdulillah, that was a good sort of session. And just to make the viewers aware, what I'd like to focus on next week, if we can, brother, is to then look at the second principle, is how do we reconnect with nature? Because there's a difference between just walking in the mountains. There's a difference between just walking in a forest to nature connectedness. There's a big difference. So next week, inshallah, I'd like with you to explore about nature connectedness, and that's quite a long journey. But Jazakallah khair for your time. As always, it's wonderful to be with you. And inshallah ta'ala, for everybody that's viewing in, you can see this this discussion. It will be uploaded soon on our Heartsea YouTube channel. Please stay tuned and look forward to seeing you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.